Good evening, everyone. I wanted to start by thanking you, Brian, for giving me the chance to speak about our friendship tonight. As many of you know, I have known Brian since the early kindergarten times. What keeps us so close is the similarities we have in common. We both love outdoors and soccer. I can't remember the last time that I was going fishing and I didn't ask him to go with me. Let's take it back to the 7th grade when Brian and I started to show interest in fishing together. Prior to that, we had only been on a soccer team outside of school. It was the end of the school year in our science class that we had the idea. We should actually go fishing together this summer. We always talked about our catches and where we fished, but no one's never thought of fishing together. Brian one day told me about this farm he could go fishing at. There were 2 big main ponds with 5 little ponds. In all, this place was around 350 acres and beautiful. I remember the day we went like it was yesterday. It was an unbelievable day because Brian and I had caught a total of around 140 fish. We looked like tomatoes afterwards from being there all day, but it is a memory I will never forget. Another great memory I have had with Brian over the years was during our soccer season. We were in the 8th grade and it was our first year on a high school team. I don't recall who we played for our first game, but I definitely remember what happened. It was a very intense game with people fouling and scoring the whole time. The game started out fine, but as the final minutes rolled around, things got really heated. We were up 2-1, and Brian was playing the left back position. He is the person on the left side of the field defending our goal. The ball was being kicked all over the place and was very messy. Our coach wanted us to take our time and kick the ball out of bounds. This is a tactic used when there isn't a lot of time left and you are winning. The other team eventually got full control of the ball and took it down the right side of the field, or our left side. It was only Brian in the back, and he had to make a daring slide tackle. This was very risky because if he had not pulled it off correctly, then they would have had a penalty kick. He executed the tackle so perfectly, and there was no foul called. Even the referees could not believe how perfect it was. This was the final play of the game, and we had won. Brian had always told me this quote by Ric Flair: "To be the man, you have to beat the man." The first thing I said to him after the game was, "You have beaten the man." I want to tell you one last story about my friendship with Brian. It was a cold day in late November on a weekend. We wanted to go deer hunting together, and it was the perfect time to go. We were old enough to hunt together and went to the same farm with the ponds. This property had 2 fields in the back that the deer ate in. We eventually got in our spots around 3:15 p.m. Deer immediately poured into the field, making for a wonderful evening. The wildlife were everywhere. I was hoping to harvest my first buck that night, with many bucks in the field. While whispering, we came to a conclusion of which buck to take. I got my rifle ready, and I began to take the safety off. At this moment, all of the deer looked at me and stopped what they were doing. Next thing I knew, I had pulled the trigger, but no bullet had fired. Every single deer in the field had run off. We were disappointed at the time, but couldn't help but laugh at the situation. It was just the luck we had that night. I had always heard the saying, sometimes it's just not meant to be. That night I was thinking I just wasn't supposed to harvest that deer.